on you. What we done started. Look at what we done started. This the people party. What's up, party people? How y'all feeling? My name is Talib Kweli. I am your host for the Fantastic People's Party. And one of my favorite people in the world is Jasmin, Leigh, my co-host of People's Party. Give it up for Jasmin, Leigh, in the house.
I started the claps early.
They're trained. We got them well trained, Jasmin. This show, man, it's been such a journey. I've had such a good time doing it. And like I was saying to you earlier, getting to talk to my friends who have done great things and have great accomplishments is like my favorite part of this show. So today's guest is another friend of mine. This gentleman has been working very hard. Mm-hmm. If you've been a fan of movies or television in the last 20 years, he has entered your psyche. He has been a part of many great projects that stand the test of time. He always picks projects that stand the test of time. In movies, you've seen him in Old School with Will Farrell. You've seen him in Coach Carter with Sam Jackson. You've seen him in Deuces, Mr. Robot, Roll Bounce, NCIS. Right now, on the CW, he's in Arrow. He also has many other talents that I'm sure we'll get into as we start talking and having this conversation. People's Party, put your hands together, show your love for Rick Gonzalez. What up, Rick?
Ricky. For some reason, I want to say Ricky Ricardo.
How you feeling?
Oh my gosh, hi. Welcome over to my corner.
First hug.
I know.
Ever.
He's amazing. I love him already.
Show love to the ladies as soon as he walks in.
Man, gotta show love. What up?
What's up, Ricky?
What's up, man?
How you been?
I've been great, man.
I've been trying to link with you for a minute.
For a minute, yes. Yes.
When I first started this show about a year ago, a little over a year ago, you were one of the first people I called.
Oh, yes, you were.
Because,
thank you.
No doubt. I feel like you represent your story and your struggle and your accomplishments represent what I'm trying to do with People's Party.
And I love the show, and I'm honored to be here.
Of course. Thank you.
And I told you, I was like, man, I'd be honored to be a part of the show. I mean, what you've always brought to your work and everything you've done is always with integrity. So
no doubt.
That's why I jumped at the chance.
No
man.
doubt. Put that on the tombstone.
Yes.
Integrity. That's
integrity.
What we're out here doing. But yeah, you've been very busy, bro. Like, you know, because I thought I had access to you because we was in the studio working on ideas for songs and doing little things together. And then all of a sudden I started hitting you. You're like, bro, I can't. I'm in Vancouver.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
You had to go to Vancouver to do...
shooting Arrow.
Yeah, man. Talk to me. Let's start with telling me about how you got on that show and what it's meant to your career.
Oh, Arrow's been great. I mean, I get to play a superhero.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I grew up, you know, collecting comics as a kid. And so... to have that chance to like create a to bring to life a character like Wild Dog, because my character's name is Wild Dog. So he's basically the Punisher version of the DC world.
Right.
And for them to make him Latino, you know, and to also be the character that brings that sort of like strong energy to a show that's never really had it before. I embraced that, you know, immediately. And I was, and it was just off an audition, you know, it came down a pipeline and, you know, I didn't think anything of it. It was just kind of like, oh, I'm playing a character who's going to be court-martialed. But with Arrow, their characters are shrouded in mystery because they don't want the fans to find out exactly who the characters are for the upcoming season. So I had no idea that this guy was going to be Wild Dog. And that the plans for him were going to be very vast. And so, get the job. And, you know, I find out that, you know, the costume designer's like, hey, so I need to fit you for a costume and a mask. And I'm like, no, Maya, you have the wrong person. I'm playing the guy who's being court-martialed. She's like, no, you're going to be Wild Dog. And I'm like, who's that? I like him. Right. Yeah, she's like, oh, he's badass. And then I go on the Googles and...
So you had to go Google and figure out...
I had to Google, find out who this guy is, because I was more of a Marvel guy.
Right.
You know,
well, you wasn't reading Arrow.
No, I wasn't. I've never read Arrow. I didn't know anything about, you know, the DC world too much. I mean, obviously Superman and things like that. But
Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, but
exactly.
Justice League shit.
Yeah,
but that's more the rudiments.
But yeah, Wild Dog was more obscure. You know, he had a comic book back in the 80s or like 70s or something, but it went away. You know, so they brought him out the vault and threw him in the Arrow, and the rest is history, man.
Arrow was in this sort of new DC TV era. Arrow was just the first.
Is the first, yes.
And they did something. It set up the Flash nicely.
Exactly.
I saw you. I didn't understand because I had to go back and watch Arrow. I got into the Flash heavy when it first came out because I grew up looking at the Flash.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So the nostalgia made me get into Flash.
Exactly.
I knew about Arrow, but I just wasn't watching it.
Exactly.
But then when they started overlapping the stories, it made me go check out Arrow.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize you was an Arrow until I saw the Crisis stuff start to pop off. What was that like?
Amazing, because it's like I get to interact with Supergirl. I get to interact with the Flash.
Right.
You know. For me, identity-wise, just like having a Latino character, you know, just like right in the mix of it, you know, especially taking Wild Dog, who's so obscure with these giant characters, to me was amazing. So it was a victory and a win-win. It's so much fun. I mean, I don't take that for granted. I think it was a great, just an amazing experience to be a part of. And I think personally for me too, because you know, up until then, I hadn't really had the opportunity to take a character like this who's, you know, who's evolved so much. Because I think the fun part about the show is like we get to do crazy storylines, you know, and like my guy went from like, you know, doing really crazy things in the streets of Star City to now becoming the mayor. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's like the big giant arc that we're able to have fun with the character. And I hadn't really had that chance as an actor, you know?
Right. You did a lot of TV, but it was like, correct me if I'm wrong, but like walk on, walk off stuff. It was like this is the first time.
Yeah.
This is the longest series you've been in?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
the
so
second longest was with Reaper back in 08, from like 07, 09.
Gonzalez.
Yep. It's a comedy. And but this was by far the longest, yeah.
Right. So you got to develop it in a way that you can't even develop in a film.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You're a Brooklyn dude.
Yeah, man.
Bushwick, Brooklyn.
Born and raised.
Born and raised.
Born and raised.
No doubt. Do you know Tony Touch?
Yes, I do. I love Touch.
He represents Bushwick to the fullest.
To the fullest.
No
I mean,
doubt.
I'm talking about when he used to like sell the mixtapes on Knickerbocker Ave.
Right.
And I would go get them.
Like a Puerto Rican dude from Brooklyn who knows how to break dance. You know, Tony can dance.
Yeah, he did.
Tony does graffiti.
Yeah.
Tony can spit.
Yeah.
Tony makes beats. He DJs.
That's the elements
That's
of hip hop right there.
That's
like
it.
he was there in the beginning. That's for me.
Rocksteady crew.
When I was 4 or 5 years old, I was trying to break dance. You know, I wanted to be a graffiti artist. You know, I wanted to do all of that.
Did you ever learn how to break dance, or was it just a try?
I mean, I was all right.
No
I
doubt.
mean, good enough for my mom to make me like, you know, dance at parties and try to like
Yes.
battle with the other kids. Mira, baila. You do it too.
You do
My
it
son
too.
is good too.
Oh, my son. What was the energy, you know, in Brooklyn in like that time, like the late 80s, early 90s? Describe it for the people who wasn't there.
I mean, it was raw. It was like, you know, Troutman was like a really dangerous block. Like they was like pumping. You know, they was like they had some dudes that was really making real money.
Yeah.
So there was certain areas that was just real dark. He was like, you didn't go over there.
Right.
You know what I mean? You know, Bushwick, you know, was a lot of, you know, kids that was hired guns. You know, we didn't really have too many hustlers like Harlem did. We just had a lot of knuckleheads.
Brooklyn keep on taking it.
We manufactured kids that were like, yo, I need to go get a Bushwick kid and go rob these dudes.
Right,
You know
no
what
doubt.
I mean? So like, we just had a lot of knuckleheads back in the day. So like, I remember like moms, you know, like, okay, you finish grade school, we gotta go to junior high school, but we gotta be careful with a crew called the Decepticons. Because they out there,
Only Brooklyn niggas really know.
Sounds like villains.
Only Brooklyn
I
niggas
mean-
really know.
box cutters, like
Yeah,
giving people's
man.
$1.50s.
$1.50s.
Oh,
Just-
Because it costs $1.50 at the hardware store. That $1.50 went a long way.
Yeah.
Is that why they called them that?
Yeah.
Well,
I had
and
no
$1.50
idea.
because it's like 150
Half your
stitches.
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
what I mean? Like it was bad. So,
Yeah.
you know, I'm like 9, 10 years old. I'm afraid. You know, I'm like, uh-oh. But yet and still, it was just a great time. It was just so much fun. Like I laughed the most. I played the most. I had great friendships, and you know, through all that energy and danger, there was still so much love in the neighborhood. There was like, you know, like listening, like hip hop was alive it was like an
vibrant,
organism.
colorful.
It was like
breathing.
You could see it in the air,
Yes,
hip hop.
yes.
You could see it living in the air because when the music rattled out of somebody's Buick Regal, just rattling, and it was a hard ass beat from like, you know, Big Daddy Kane or whatever, and it was just like, it just captured your heart, you know, and it just made me like, damn, this is the life.
No doubt. Now, Latino people in New York City are part of the fabric of the creation of hip hop.
Yeah.
You have roots with Dominican Republic and with Puerto Rico.
Yeah, my dad's Dominican and my mom's Puerto Rican.
Right. That's like Romeo and Juliet. You know what I'm saying?
Back in the day, it was. Yeah, it was.
Because people don't really know who is not from the East Coast. There's some friction between Dominican and Puerto Rican communities.
There was a lot of discord there. For me, I didn't understand it. You know, I was a young kid and like, but I think I did kind of participate in it a little bit because it was kind of like the kids who only spoke Spanish, it was kind of like, you ain't cool. So we would kind of ridicule them, you know?
That's white supremacy right there.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
And I think it's also another reason why, you know, you have certain people that would look down upon the Latinos that were darker skinned. You know what I mean? And it's just like this thing of like, nah, you ain't, you know, I'm gonna treat you a little differently.
But what it breaks down to on the, you know, the caste system with race, we talk about white supremacy, is more like light-skinned, white-leaning Hispanic people, people from these areas who speak Spanish, identify as Hispanic, and more darker people identify as Latino. That's what it seems like to me from the outside looking in.
Right. But I think growing up, like, I felt like I was no different from the black people in the neighborhood too. Like I felt like we were all the same.
Right. Like it's some Afro-Latino shit.
Exactly. Because it's like we got the same hair. You know what I mean? We rock the same clothes. We talk the same way. We go through the same, you know, injustices together. So it's like we're really the same. And we don't treat each other really any different.
That's right, because I grew up in Brooklyn, and all the Latino people I knew growing up in Brooklyn were Dominicans and Puerto Ricans.
Exactly.
And there's a little bit of Mexicans, sometimes Colombians, a lot of Colombians, people from Ecuador, Cuban. But it's really for New York. That experience is Dominican
and Puerto
Rican, right?
Absolutely.
And so I grew up in Park Slope, playing baseball with mostly Dominican and Puerto Rican kids.
Yes, you did.
Right? And people like Fat Joe and Big Pun and then Puerto Rican dudes growing up in the Bronx, they don't have the dark brown skin like me, but they grow up like niggas. They grow up like black folks. They grow up in these communities doing hip hop, participating in black cultural things.
Yes.
And so you have these people who have this light skin, but they grow up in this neighborhoods and they refer to each other as nigga.
Yeah.
They say nigga because you come Fat Joe to this day. In LA and other places, you don't have Latino people, Hispanic people saying nigga because they don't have those same experiences.
Exactly.
Okay, because you know my thing on
this comes up on the show a lot.
Yeah.
I don't really agree with non-black people saying nigga, but it's funny as you say Fat Joe because I looked at Fat Joe as black
because you grew up in New York,
but I didn't look at Jennifer Lopez as black. So I felt like
that's an interesting
But she said
thing.
nigga once on that song.
Exactly.
And it was not cool.
It was a song with Fat Joe, right?
No,
it's Ja Rule. It's
Ja Rule.
Ja Rule. It's with Ja Rule.
Yeah.
But it's like I allow as if I'm like, you know, queen of black.
You the nigga police.
But like it's like in my mind, I allowed, you know, Fat Joe to say it, but then when J-Lo said it, I didn't. And mainly because I feel like Fat Joe I looked at him as a black man, but you don't look at Jennifer Lopez as a black woman.
Interesting. I mean, I will say, like, when I was dating my wife at the time, and we talked about that, she was, you know, she's from the West Coast.
And it's different for
She's
her.
from LA. So her perspective on this conversation is like, you know, a lot of people were like, why did she say that? You know what I mean? And so to take it even further, when she saw a Big Pun video, she assumed he was Mexican.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because she didn't really understand what Puerto Ricans were. And when I told her I was Puerto Rican, that's when she was like, oh, so you like Big Pun. And I'm like, yes, exactly. Like, she didn't understand, you know, Puerto Rico and what that meant culturally, you know, even being over there and how we talk to each other and how we get along with black people and how we're sort of the same, you know.
And this hierarchy's there too. I spent time with Tego Calderon in Puerto Rico.
Right.
And he's a dark-skinned Puerto Rican who deals with Afro-Latino issues.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm dating my wife and she's like, we're going to Atlanta. My sister-in-law is graduating from Clark Atlanta. I was like, cool, we going. We in Atlanta. I wear my favorite Puerto Rico shirt. I'm in Clark, Atlanta with a Puerto Rico shirt on, just rapping. I don't care. I'm just on the campus. And, you know, I meet her for the first time. And the first thing she says to me is, you know, you black, right? And I say, yeah. She was like, cool, I like you.
Right.
We can kick it.
And you
know
like,
what I mean?
you know there's black people in Puerto Rico, right?
Exactly. But like,
My grandma's
I
Puerto
know
Rican.
my identity.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so it was just kind of like, do you know who you are? And I'm like, yeah, I get it. You know, I totally get what this means. But I think there's this thing like, you know, with people who understand that Puerto Ricans talk to each other that way in New York, and it kind of hits a nerve. And I get it. You know, I do get it, but I think it's an identity thing because in New York, we don't see each other differently that way.
We don't. We in the same neighborhoods.
Exactly.
Like when I grew up in New York, there's a Puerto Rican dude next to me on one side, Dominican dude next to me on the other side, and the police is treating us the same.
And the Dominican dude has the same skin tone as
He
you.
looks just like me.
He
And
looks
they
just
can
like
do
you.
your hair. Well, not
And the barbers, like the Puerto Rican Dominican barbers, yo,
Right. They get busy.
they get busy.
They
son.
get busy. So,
They do.
you know, if my wife goes to New York, they think she's Dominican. You know what I mean? Or, you know, they think she might be Puerto Rican too. So it's like, it's hard to, you know, it's that idealism that allows that conversation to happen freely, comfortably. You know what I mean? It's like, it's not a thing. And even my skin tone, like they ain't tripping, you know? So I feel like, yeah, I mean, it's an interesting thing, you know? I mean, even like you have Mexicans in LA that say the N-word.
And I don't agree with that at all.
You know? And so it's an interesting discussion.
Yeah, I think to me, it's completely contextual. It's like when you watch the movie American Me, right? Which there was some gangster shit behind that movie. Some gangster shit went down.
Yep.
Because not everybody liked the way that Edward James almost told that story.
Right.
But there's a character. One of the highest members of the Mexican mafia was a white dude that's represented in the movie.
That's right.
And he's like, orderly, the whole movie.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He sounds straight, but it's like, he's a white dude, but everyone understood the context with that man. You grew up in this neighborhood doing these things, so you were loud and you given certain passes. And I I can't even say it's a pass if you earned it. You know what I'm saying? If you was there, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Yeah, man, it's fascinating to me, especially in this era, in the Trump America era, not just Trump America, but in the world where nationalism and xenophobia and fascism is becoming very popular. And poor black and brown people are the first people to feel the brunt of that. Yeah. And particularly in America, it's Latino, Hispanic people that are feeling the brunt of it. And for black people who jump on the MAGA train and be on some build the wall shit and be like, you know, if you're Puerto Rican or Dominican or Mexican, you're not down with us, y'all got to watch that shit because they're coming for us next. Best believe it.
Absolutely.
History will tell you.
Absolutely. I think the one good thing, though, when we look at this time in history is that we're able to have this conversation, this nuanced conversation, because I don't think we were ever able to have that before.
Yeah.
I think it was definitely happening during Obama's administration, you know, because of all the injustices of, you know. With,
he triggered the racist.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He triggered it, and so that conversation started happening through the system.
Yeah, first black president definitely triggered.
I think that's when we first started outwardly seeing a bunch of racism like on social media and stuff like that, because before it was more hidden.
Well, he was also the first president to successfully use social media.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? He was a social media president.
Exactly.
You went to LaGuardia.
Yeah, man.
Now, Steve Baramucci, who helps me with this show, he had a theory that I thought was interesting. He compared LaGuardia and other specialized schools that a lot of our guests end up going to Hogwarts.
Ah,
You know what I'm
I love
saying?
it.
That's a
I
good
love
theory,
it.
right?
Yes, I like that.
We had Michael Rappaport on.
I love him.
Do you now?
I love that guy. He's crazy.
This hasn't aired yet when we filmed this.
Yeah.
We all started arguing.
Oh wow.
Yeah, him and Jasmin argued because Michael has developed into a controversial character.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And you know, I grew up with my relationship with Michael Rappaport is similar to my relationship with you. We all people from New York who came up, and now we in LA making our moves.
Yes.
And Mike is, as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to hip hop, Mike is down by law, and Jasmine's younger than me. she don't got the relationship with Michael Rappaport that I have.
For sure.
Not in terms of artistic output.
Right.
And in terms of just the friendship.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
But, you know, he went to Martin Luther King.
Right across the street.
Right across the street.
Right across the street, that's right. Yeah,
So I used to go to LaGuardia. When I went to Brooklyn Tech, LaGuardia had the gospel show concert every year.
That's right, yes.
Right?
Yeah,
and
do it, yep.
I used to go to look at the girls. Like my man 88 Keys says, we was trying to bag chicks. Right? LaGuardia had the hot girls.
Yes.
But them kids at MLK was dangerous as fuck.
They were.
You know, and I said Mike Rappaport, I said, were you a bully? Because when we had to go to LaGuardia, we had to watch out for the MLK kids.
Right.
So what was that?
Yeah, how did he survive that?
Yo, he was like, he thought he was a tough guy. You know what I'm saying? Back in the day.
Right.
You know, he's a tough Jew. He's a tough Jew.
Yeah.
New York, a tough Jew from New York.
He had a couple fights.
Yeah, a couple
He had a
fights.
couple
But
fights.
describe that LaGuardia, MLK, downtown Manhattan scene.
Well, so I never saw MLK. You know, Martin Luther King didn't. They would let them out of school earlier than us, so we never saw them. So there was never altercations. But LaGuardia was, for me,
For people who don't know, that's the school that the movie Fame.
Exactly,
And the TV show
Fame. The
was
TV
based
show
on.
was based on.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Shout out
And
to
so-
Irene Cara.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it's everything to me because I learned the foundation of acting. That's where I understood the craft of it, and I just fell in love with it, and it made me want to dive in further. Even though I declared acting at 5, and I was on a collision course for it, but in LaGuardia, I was able to really realize, like, oh, I can figure this out. You know, there's a craft to this. There's this science of it that I'll probably never master ever in my life. It'll take forever to figure out, but I'm in. I'm all in, you know, especially like just being Latino and just like seeing all these movies that just make me go crazy and I want to be a part of it. This is it. This is where I have to figure it out. And I think they do a great job of it because it's the teachers communicate to you in a way of preparing you from the beginning you walk in through those doors of like, if you want to do this as a career, then this is how we're going to communicate to you and this is what we're going to do to prepare you for that. So they do the very best to situate it as a conservatory to give you all the acting in the morning and then all your academics later, you know, that we have to fulfill by New York State law. But we're going to give you as much of a conservatory vibe so you can understand this craft and you can get what you need, you know? And I mean, like I said, it set the foundation and I still use everything that I've learned from that school to this day.
You moved to LA pretty early on and, you know, a lot of people have make amazing careers in New York. What made you want to move to LA? Did you already have people here or did you just want to do TV more than stage?
Well, I was already acting in New York. So I graduated LaGuardia. They were able to get me an agent, which was awesome. Yeah, I did a showcase and I got an agent. So I started acting. I did like Law and Order. I did a couple independent movies. And my buddy who graduated LaGuardia was like, hey, we should go to LA. And I was like, okay, let's do it. You know, like he was just like, we should go out there. That's where the auditions are. His name is Diego Lopez. What's up, Diego? You know, he was like, look, you know, the studios are out there. The casting directors are there. And I was like, I'm cool because I have an agency who's bi-coastal, so let's do it. So we go out there. And he was personal training some guy, and this guy was like, well, if you guys are gonna go to LA, I wanna donate a card to you, so just to say, you know, go make a career, go make a life here, and I'll donate a car. So we had to go pick up the car in Vegas. So we fly to Vegas, we pick up the car, and then we drive the car from Vegas to Los Angeles. But on our way, when we get to Los Angeles, it was rainy and slick. Car lost control, hit a divider, the car blew up, car's on flames. Mind you, we were just having a conversation like, we're gonna kill this town.
Oh, God.
We're gonna friggin' murder. We're gonna be so big and huge, we're gonna kill it. All hell broke loose.
Sounds like LA.
Yep, it was the beginning, but amazing.
That's your origin story.
Yep.
Wow.
Now you're a superhero.
Exactly.
Let's talk about your trip to LA and how successful it was. Let's talk about some of your film work.
Yeah.
Coach Carter.
Yeah.
Like I said in the intro, you pick things that have like lasting value. Samuel Jackson was in this movie, but at that time in his career, I feel like that role could have gone to it could have gone to Larry Fishburne or Denzel Washington. He happened to get that role.
Yeah.
This is Channing Tatum's first movie.
Yeah.
Ashanti's in this movie.
Yes.
Any interesting stories from working on that film?
Yeah, I mean, I thought I wasn't going to get that film because I had a really bad audition. I thought me and the director, I read for him, and I wish I could speak with Sarah Finn, who was the casting director on there, but it was like we were arguing in the room. And I don't remember how that started, but I've never done that before, mind you. I usually do my thing and I get in and get out, right? And I just remember that conversation with him being really heated, and it almost like we were gonna get at each other in the room. And then I walked out of there, and I remember the casting assistant was like, "Hey, just take a breath. It's okay. I'm sorry that happened. It's cool. Like, you did a great job. Just go home." And I'm like, what the hell was that? And I'm like, I was like, well, my big ass mouth and my attitude just threw that away. I wasn't gonna get that. And then sure enough, I get a call like, they want you to be the guy to play Timo, and I was just like, whoa, and I was just excited, like, cause on paper, this character was like jumping off the page. And the reason I was excited was, it wasn't just because it was a big part, but it was because I hate seeing movies where they portray the inner city character incorrectly or in a way that's not authentic. And not in terms of like his vibe or his energy, but just like who he is, I just needed him to be human. I needed him to, I wanted to see the humanity. I never see the humanity in these characters, and I just felt like I want people to see why he's broken. That's what I cared about. It's like, this kid's broken. I know so many kids like this. Like, if we could just humanize him in a way,
right,
then we're going somewhere, and that's what I cared about. It's all I cared about.
Right.
The only problem with Coach Carter for me at the time was like, man, we're only shooting it in LA, and if the story takes place in the Bay, I had no one to like help me with the Bay accent. I couldn't find it anywhere. There was just no one. I mean, if I wanted an LA accent, I have plenty of friends from LA, but it's different. The Bays is a little different.
I lived in LA for about 10 years. And coming from New York like we do, when you think of California, like, you think of like, David Lee Roth. I wish they all could be California. You think of like sunny southern Los Angeles, Southern California. You don't think of the Bay Area as California. Like when you watch like early videos from like the Coup, they're wearing winter coats because it get cold in the Bay. But you think of California as just sunny.
Right.
For Latino characters, you spoke up about Arrow, the character being written as Latino where he wasn't before.
Right.
Right. But the Latino experience is different for a kid in Houston than it is for a kid in LA, than it's different for a kid in the Bay, than it's different for a kid in Miami, than it's different for a kid in New York City. Me as a fan of movies, and coming from New York and understanding, and by the time Coach Carter had come out, I spent some time in the Bay. So what you're speaking on, I noticed.
Yeah.
I love that movie. I love your performance. But I didn't notice, I said, because I know you.
Yeah.
I'm like, Rick Gonzalez is from Bushwick, Brooklyn. This character's from Richmond or Oakland, California.
Yeah.
Like, do you feel like Hollywood should do a better job of trying to make sure that part of it is accurate?
I think that the responsibility should always be trying to give the part to the best actor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, whoever's going to
the film first
embody the character, the spirit of the character, and that could mean many different things. You know what I mean? Because I mean, if the character looks like he's from the Bay, but the character doesn't resonate, then it doesn't matter, right? I'd rather take the guy who doesn't really look like he's from the Bay, but is giving me all this layer and energy and stuff that's gonna pop off the screen, that's gonna make me feel something. And I think ultimately that's what I cared about, was like, well, I can't find the Bay in him, but I can just take his emotion and his raw energy, and I can just make that be the centerpiece.
Okay.
And focus on that. you know, and that's to me, I just played it like a transfer student.
Okay.
Like he's been in the Bay for a minute, and you know, he's just a transfer student from East Coast, wherever, and now he's in the Bay with his cousin Rennie hustling. Right. Because Timo represented the kid who doesn't have a mother and father. Right. Rennie's his family. Right. But that family's not really family. He's making him do something that's tearing his soul apart. Yeah. He's walking with something on his chest, and he's making everyone feel terrible for it because he doesn't feel good. You know what I mean? And he's literally has a gun in his pocket, and he's like afraid for his life. And so he's on edge. Yeah. So it's kind of like, you know, I know those kids, you know what I mean? And there's something that, you know, they're screaming for help. Yeah. You know, so so I felt like for me, it was more important to find that.
Yeah. And everyone doesn't always have an accent, and they can be living somewhere their whole life, and they may not have an accent. You might not be in a place where they're from.
You're right. I represent Brooklyn, and no one accuses me of having a Brooklyn accent or sound like I'm from Brooklyn ever. Yeah. I represent Brooklyn to the fullest, but it's not like the way I talk and act. Right. People are like, oh, you from Brooklyn.
Well, people do it to me. Yeah. All the time.
You seem like you're from New York, though.
Yeah. It's like, oh, you from New York.
Yeah, you got a whole vibe.
Yes. But it's like a New York from a certain time. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Old New York. You from old New York.
Old New York. Yeah. Like that New York.
No one knows where I'm from.
I think that Roll Bounce is an underrated film.
Thank you, sir.
Roll Bounce comes on like, you know, USA or TBS, and it's the type of film where it comes on TNT or something, and I'm watching it. You know what I'm saying? Yes. A shout out to Bow Wow and with Brandon T. Jackson.
Yes,
you know
Brandon,
what I'm saying?
it's hilarious.
Did you have to, were you skating already?
No, I didn't know how to skate.
Did you have to learn how to skate?
I had to learn how to skate. I was horrible.
I was doing whole routines.
I sucked.
Like whole dance routines.
But if you see, I was in the back the whole time. Right? I was in the back.
Okay. So they have a skating body double for you?
But I was like, did we have doubles? Yeah, no. I was doing all that shit. Doubles. We had to do it. But you know, like I said, they had me in the back, and as long as I could get the 1-2, you know what I mean? And then they would just cut away.
Shout out to Wesley.
Bow, you know what I mean? Because Bow was killing it. Yeah. Wesley Jonathan.
Wesley came to my wedding.
Yeah?
Yeah, man. Shout out to Wesley.
Shout out to Wes.
He was like such a smooth pimp in that movie.
Yes. He came in. We were already shooting. They brought him in, you know, and he learned all his stuff. I was like, that's not fair, dude.
Yeah. He's ill.
That's just not fair. You just can't come in here like... You know, and everyone else was like 17, 16. I'm like 25, 26. Y'all trying to teach me how to do something brand new. I did, but I ain't.
It was the hair.
Right, I had the fro going.
You had the famous fro, bro.
Fro, no, they shaved everything, you know? It was just like, it was fun. Like, honestly, like, that made me want to put a skating rink in my house. Because there's something up, now I realize why... When you play a dope-ass song and you just skate, you just want to be by yourself. You know, that feeling is incredible.
Did you ever go to the skating ring when you were young, or you just did not skate at all?
No, I never went to Skate Key.
Empire Roller Rink.
No, I never did. No.
We had little Kim on. She was talking about how people used to come to Empire Roller Rink. Yeah. To get robbed.
It was
that's why they went there?
That's what Skate Key was and all that. It was like, you know, it's a dangerous place to be.
Yeah. It was dangerous in New York.
It was dangerous.
Yeah. Talk to me about working on War of the Worlds.
Wow, yeah. So my manager's like, hey, you have an audition for a Spielberg film. Right. They put me on. So I auditioned. I went in and I auditioned for a very vague scene. It was like one scene. I put myself on there. I didn't hear anything for like, I don't know, I want to say maybe 3 months. Didn't hear anything of it, you know. And then all of a sudden I get a call and they're like, hey, so that thing with Spielberg, you're going to do it. But what I read was just like, kind of like for him to just kind of see me read lines.
Understood.
So they finally sent me the script, what I'm going to do, and the scene with Tom. And it was cool.
Tom Cruise, for those who haven't seen the Steven Spielberg remake
Tom
of
Cruise.
War of the Worlds. Yeah. He's name dropping like, so me and Tom are
right, first name basis.
You know, the only Tom, right?
The Tom.
The Tom. But yeah, we did it, and it was just, it didn't hit me quite. You know what I mean? Like, it was just kind of like, oh, cool, I'm doing a Spielberg film. All right, cool. Like, I don't know. At that time,
it's classic.
I was just in the groove and I was just working.
You're a working actor.
I was just working. I was like, all right, cool. I'm gonna go do this thing. You know,
it's a good thing on my resume to have so I can get more work.
Great. Yeah. Cool. And then I get there and they're like, hey, Rick, so in about 5 minutes, we're gonna head to set to shoot. And we'll put you in a van and we'll head on up. You know, we're shooting in Bayonne, New Jersey. And well, by the way, like, the entire street. They took about 2 blocks and they rigged the whole street of explosives, cars. They put a giant crater in the middle of an intersection. They rigged like all the windows for 2 blocks. I mean, and yet it felt like an indie film, right?
Wow.
So what I mean by that is like, it didn't feel big, yet all these huge things were happening, but it was just very calm and chill. We had about maybe like 150 extras. And so I'm heading in, and then that's when my heart starts to race, because I'm like, now it hit me. Like all that stuff that I put aside, I didn't allow myself to think about, boom, just hit. And Steven just, you know, like, hey man, you know, and he's like, I just want to run the lines, I just want to hear the lines out loud, you know, if that's okay. And I'm like, yeah, sure, you can run the lines. Yul Vasquez, who's with me in the film, he's a fantastic actor. And, you know, we're running the lines, and then I'm like, holy smokes, like, this is happening. This is amazing, you know. And
like me, and like you grew up on Spielberg.
100%. I mean, he's Michael Jordan.
Yeah, for the film, yeah.
He's Michael Jordan. That's it. Ain't nobody else above it. And when I talked to Tom Cruise, because he had just did a film called The Last Samurai with Edward Zwick, who directed it.
He was culturally appropriate in
100%. 100%.
I'm a fan of Tom Cruise, by the way, but
big fan.
Last
Big
Samurai
fan.
was a fucking stretch.
But they always do.
That was a fucking stretch.
But that's always being done.
No doubt,
you know,
no doubt.
That's
no
always
doubt.
being done. But
Matt Damon did that a few years later. Keep going.
Right. It was a good film, though. I loved it. And I was like,
I've enjoyed that film.
I really loved that film.
I did like that film.
And I was like, hey, man, what was it like working with Ed Zwick? Like how he's like, Ed Zwick? We're working with Spielberg, man. Like, fuck cares about Ed Zwick?
Right.
Like, this is the man right here. And I'm like, yeah, you're right.
Okay.
You're right. My bad.
Tom Cruise keeping it real.
100%.
No doubt.
100%. It was great. It was just, and it was just the coolest. Like, you know, he has his DP, Janusz Kaminski, who's like done all his stuff, like always cracking jokes on him. I think the one thing that I really appreciated for him, because I stopped him and I said, hey man, thank you for you know, giving me the job. He's like, no, I saw your tape and you were the right person.
You earned this job.
You earned the
you
job.
You don't owe me thanks.
You don't owe me anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I was like, that's dope. You know what I mean? Like don't submit to me. Like you earned it. You were the best person for the job.
Right.
You did great. You know,
that's
I love what you're
important
doing.
in these relationships with celebrities and famous people. It's like you have to know your worth. And like 88, we learned lessons today. Gina said, know your worth. 88 Keys said, I'm never the wrong guy.
Never.
Because sometimes you think you're the wrong guy. I'm never the wrong guy.
No.
But just owning that.
Own your
moment.
space. Own your space. And I think that's something that, you know, I definitely had to learn, you know, in my 20s, because I think I had that mindset of like, oh, thank you. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, wait, why would I say thank you if I've been blessed to have this talent?
Wow.
I'm earning it.
I'm earning it.
I'm earning it. And if people have a problem with me owning my space, and that's their problem, that's not mine. You know, that's their issue.
Yeah. Will Farrell
Yeah.
did a movie called Old School. You play a character called Spanish.
Yeah.
This is one of the most iconic comedy movies of all time.
Yeah.
This is one of the most iconic roles of all time. You did a great job.
Thank you.
This is Will's first real big starring role outside of SNL. Night at the Roxbury came out.
Yeah,
you know,
it didn't do well, but
doing all this.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But that, you know, it's really, everybody gets tonight.
Old School set it off.
Old School.
Old School set it off.
Todd Phillips?
Yes, it is.
Who just did
Joker. Yes.
Which is one of the greatest superhero movies of all time. When I was late on Joker. I knew I should watch it. I watch all the comic book movies and superhero movies, and I know Joaquin Phoenix and De Niro. When Joker was popping in the theaters, I was torn. I didn't get a chance to watch it. I just watched it recently. I watched it maybe 2 weeks ago. In the last 2 weeks, I've seen it maybe 7 times.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Todd Phillips, to see what Todd Phillips went from, I'm now thinking about it. Like, and I didn't know Todd Phillips had did it.
Yeah.
I watched Joker and I'm like, fuck, this shit is good.
Yeah.
And then the credits pulled up. It said Todd Phillips. Oh shit.
Yeah.
Tell me about working with Todd Phillips.
Yeah, I mean, you know, he understands comedy. You know what I mean? Like at that time, like,
And Joker's a stand-up comedian in that universe.
Yeah. I mean, you know, and he had Scott Armstrong, who was a writer on there as well, and he had just really smart people around him. Like, there was so many elements to Old School happening, and he had full command of it all. Like, it was almost like it was in disarray, but it wasn't. It was just like a symphony of like characters coming in, Jeremy Piven, and then Snoop, and then like all these things happening. You had
That
so
seemed
many
realistic with Snoop scene. That seemed like exactly what Snoop would be doing at that moment in his life.
Exactly. And you know, all of us, the pledges, you know what I mean? Like creating this group of pledges, like who, mind you, like all these guys go on to do amazing things after Old School. Like, so like he just had a great eye. Like, you know, Spanish and Hatch. There's another character named Hatch who I'm always hanging out with in the film. They were like this duo, this wee head duo that would always like do the craziest things. And so in the script, we had a bunch of stuff to do. We get to set, and Todd would go, "Sorry, man, had to give it to Will."
Right.
And I like, "All right, man, I understand."
Right.
I totally understand.
Right.
He's
I'm making a movie
friggin-
here. The movie's king. The film is
The
king.
man's amazing.
Yeah.
Like I understand. Like he was in a zone. You know, like what Will was doing is like, and I mean, he's a legend in SNL,
Yeah.
so he can do this, right? But what he was doing in Old School, like those takes, I just wish they would just release the bloopers,
The outtakes.
the outtakes, because he didn't miss.
There's gonna be like an anniversary edition with the DVD outtakes. It's gotta be
Incredible.
I know. I just showed my age with the DVD outtakes.
Outtakes, right? You've been showing your age a lot today.
I know.
Is it Will Farrell? I thought it was Will Farrell all this time.
Pharrell.
Because you're saying it with a little accent or something.
Will Farrell.
Which one is the
Will
pronunciation?
Farrell.
Will Farrell, I think it is.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
Will
Tomato,
Ferrell.
tomato.
I always heard Farrell, but it's your show.
Let's call the whole thing
You
off.
said it so
It's your
fancy.
show.
I was like,
Will
oh,
Ferrell.
okay.
Talk to me about the hazing scene with the cinder blocks when you had to drop the cinder blocks
Yeah.
in that movie.
We were in UCLA. It was cold. Had my pants down.
Oh.
Joseph, who plays Blue.
My boy Blue.
My boy Blue.
My boy Blue.
Sweetest old man.
You're my boy Blue.
Never complained at all. We was complaining. We was the ones complaining. You know, it was like, we cold. Like, can we, you know, whoa. And so I look over and like, you know, he's just like, you know, just chilling. And I'm like, can we get Blue a blanket or something? Or get him good? Like, you know, and I just remember that day, like, he just, like, don't complain. You know what I mean? Just do your thing. Like, he was very sweet. We just had a good time. We was always joking and laughing and having a great time. Like, most of the pledges just hung out together.
Wow.
You know? And, you know, I remember we wrapped that film and we all gave each other, like, gifts. You know what I mean? So Rob Corddry gave me a Brooklyn...
Brilliant actor.
Amazing. He gave me a Brooklyn sweater. I still have it to this day. Patrick from Suits, he drew like these like doodles, like he used to like do this art, and it was like this abstract art thing, and I put it in frames, and he gave it to me, and I'm just like, incredible. Like we were all just giving each other these gifts, and it was just like, we all realized like this was like probably the most fun of just like hanging out.
A real brotherhood,
Yeah,
y'all.
it was just like just hanging out.
Y'all made
you know?
history with that movie, man.
Yeah, it was just crazy.
So Blue is really everybody's boy on set?
Man, he was quiet, you know. He was just really chill. I mean, he was pretty old, you know.
He passed away a couple years after the movie, right?
Yeah, I want to say he did. Yeah, he did. But he wasn't young by any means.
Right.
But he was super sweet.
This show has given me the opportunity to talk to a lot of actors that had the honor and the pleasure and the privilege of working with the great John Singleton.
Yeah, man.
And you are no different. You also work with John Singleton on Illegal Tender.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that experience and what John was like as a leader, director, artist.
You know, John is a visionary. You know what I mean? So being a part of that was a blessing. He's a walking USC film school.
Yeah.
You know, like the art of the close-up, you know, the art of the wide, and, you know, how to tell a story emotionally using the camera and using certain close-ups and certain shots and how and why that happens.
Okay.
Like I was learning how to become a director just by being around him.
Wow.
You know, that's who he was. And so like, he'd share this knowledge with anybody who was willing to learn. Like, that's the kind of person he is. Like, he cares about sharing knowledge. But he has this energy and, this fire in him. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like he's just like, I wish I had that energy. Like, he's one of those people that walks with it. And doing Illegal Tender, like, he understood what the film needed to be, how the film needed to be successful. I think he saw the challenges of making this movie and made real decisions in real time to say, we're going to do this. And so that way the film becomes successful. And that's why the film is sort of like a cult classic in its own niche and lane, because he was able to find what worked in the film and be able to like highlight that, and that's just a testament to him understanding film and understanding how movies work and what makes a movie successful or how to make it successful. And so I had a front row seat to that, and I had a friendship through that, where sometimes I text him, and just say, why did Pac say this? And he'll text me back, what? Okay, this is what he meant. This is what it is. It's just like, I love that.
That's right.
That's just, I miss him. That's amazing.
He was, I got to have one conversation with him. I worked on Snowfall as a background, but it's all right. I mean,
right. She's mad because she played a crackhead on Snowfall.
I was not a crackhead. I was a 15-year-old mom. I keep telling you. I was not a crackhead. But we were at Crafty, and I was talking to myself about what snack I should get, and he helped me pick my snack. And then I was like, I looked up, and I was like, oh, shit, this is John Singleton talking to me about freaking snacks.
Rest in peace to John Singleton.
Rest in peace.
He left such an impact on what we do.
Such an impact.
Now, you being a kid from Brooklyn, who grew up in the hip-hop era, you love hip-hop so much that you had to participate in it. You and me have made music together.
Yeah, we did.
I'm very happy about this.
Man, I love our songs.
Yeah, it's a good songs.
Yeah.
It's good. Talk to me. Well, let's start like this. Who's the best rapper, actor, or actor-rapper?
I have to go with either Drake and Donald Glover.
Donald Glover?
Yeah, those two. To me, I think Donald's really good lyricist.
Yeah, he's not just a lyricist. He does whatever the fuck he wants to do.
Well, yeah, but that's what I'm saying. He's a songwriter as well.
Yeah.
So my friend told me a long time ago, when you master flow, you end up singing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like
that makes sense.
You become a singer.
That makes sense.
Like, those guys mastered flows. Like, they get it.
Now, I am a curator of hip-hop culture, and I like to think of myself as an expert, and I have expertise in this.
Yes,
You're a very good rapper.
Man, that means a lot. Thank you,
For real. Like, I'm not just saying that because you're here on the show. And I've met a lot of, actors who rap. Affion Crockett comes to mind.
Yeah.
Certain people come to mind. I was having a conversation with you before we had this interview.
Yeah.
And I said, I want to talk about hip hop. He was like, I don't do that no more.
I don't rap anymore.
Break that down for me, brother. Please.
Tired.
I'm tired. I'm tired of rap.
I'm tired, Qual. I'm done.
Quick story. I did the Rocksteady anniversary a couple of years ago. Shout out to Crazy Legs.
Yeah.
Tony Touch. Me and Bahamadia performing.
Dope.
Right? And Bahamadia got on stage. I said, that was dope. She said, Kweli, I'm sick of performing all these rap songs. She said, I am a woman of age. She said, I'm mad at myself for writing all these super lyrical raps when I was younger, because now I got to perform all these raps and they're super lyrical. I don't be feeling like being all super lyrical all the time. So is that what it is?
No, it ain't that. Okay. No, it ain't definitely ain't
Muhammad
that.
D was like, I worked too hard when I was younger.
But I know what she mean by that, though, because I do listen to my old stuff and I'm like,
You was too lyrical?
Not even lyrical. It's just like, I don't think you're being authentic enough.
Okay. Oh, okay.
I don't think you're being authentic enough. And I think that was just a due to me being in the game so long and now putting myself through the system. Like I was already in a label system and trying to find success in a certain way.
Right.
But I think ultimately the reason I left was because I spiritually felt like I'm done. Like I was done. I put in like at least 13 years of like
being a serious artist,
actively trying to create a career out of music until I reached the point spiritually where I was like, yeah, no, I'm not supposed to be doing that.
We could do it for fun.
you could do it for fun, but ultimately, I think all of my purpose and energy should be focused on what my first love was always acting, you know? And I don't think I've really accomplished enough as an actor and am doing enough as an actor for me to like really separate myself and my purpose and give it to music. And I think that's what I was doing, and it was causing more friction with the people that I cared about the most, and ultimately friction in my soul and me and like what it was doing to me. So I just felt like, well, if music is supposed to be this thing that enlightens and helps and enriches because it's a purposeful thing, then it shouldn't have a negative impact on me. And it was only causing a negative impact. So then that's when I had to be honest with myself and say, well then, but it wasn't, it was an immediate thing. Once the spirituality of me just understood it, it was like, boom, got it, done.
That's commendable.
Done.
I mean, I wish I would hear more raps from you, but that's also commendable for you to understand your higher purpose and approach it from a spiritual place.
Yeah.
You know, you can't, you know, you try to master every trade and you'll be half-ass at everything you do, but you like...
Well, I think I was also, and to be perfectly honest, like what I was dealing with was validation. Was dealing with an insecurity in me that was like, well, now that I'm getting all this attention and validation in acting, maybe I'll get it from music too. And I was forcing it and trying to seek validation in the music scene, especially when they were always rejecting me, you know? So I was working even harder to get that, you know, that validation from the people who felt like, well, you act, you shouldn't be doing music. So it made me work even harder, you know? And it hurt, it hurt me in terms of an actor because I felt like it didn't allow me to just focus on the business of acting, my business of acting. Didn't allow me to focus on a lot of the projects that I was working on, like just trying to understand certain things. So it was really damaging in many ways. And I think, you know, getting to the root of your insecurities and how they make you do certain things will really help to understand like, well, then maybe I shouldn't be doing them. And when you understand that, then you could kind of like alleviate that. And then I feel a weight lifted off of me because I would give myself this, like, I would finish doing a job and come home and give myself this homework of having to write all these songs and this thing in my head of like, I got this date and I got to put these songs out and I got to reach these blogs. And I was literally outside of Hot 97 one time, just trying to get at DJs and just trying to
as a working
known
actor.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know, like it was like, yeah, I'm an actor, but I still gotta grind, still gotta hustle, I still gotta, you know, and so I'm doing that. And it's just it divided me. You know, so I realized it's not who I am.
Right.
It's not who I am.
Shout out to DJ Spinelec.
Yes.
My guy.
Yes.
DJ.
Yes.
Great guy.
Yeah, we did some songs. We did great songs.
You did
together.
great songs, and you made Spinelec, you challenged him as a producer.
Really?
Because Spinelec, he's telling me he got these songs he's working on with you. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Shout out to Spinelec.
Yes, sir.
Shout out and rest in peace, Sean Price.
Man. Rest in peace, Sean Price.
I know you just not doing music no more, but before you stopped, you worked with Sean Price.
Yes, I did.
Elite MCs don't get to work with Sean Price, brother.
No.
You know, talk to me about working with the great, legendary Sean Price.
Man, he's just a big bag of jokes and hugs and he's just a funny, he's a teddy bear, that dude, but he's just fun.
Yeah.
You know? And
he also was in Decepticons.
He also was in the Decepticons, the people that I feared as a kid.
No doubt.
This is a game, but it sounds like villains off the
That's
TV.
because you think the Decepticons is Wiki. You know what I'm saying? You think it's
Sam
Witwicky. You know what I'm saying? You think they're hanging out with Sam Witwicky and shit. That's not what they was hanging out with back then.
No, these dudes look like Sean Price.
No, they look like Sean Price.
They look like Sean Price. You go the other way.
Yeah.
You go the other way. It was just like, you know, knowing knowing Prodigy and
Rest in peace to Prodigy.
Rest in peace to Prodigy. Like just being in this like circle of MCs and stuff, and me doing music and putting stuff out, and you know, he listens to people. You know, he does listen to people. Like
Sean shouted me out on his last album that came out.
The Imperious Rex.
Yeah. And he talked about, he said, I go to the juice bar and I see Talib Kweli. But that's a real story, because I literally got from off of a tour and I'm going up Flatbush Ave. They had a store called Juices for Life or something like that on Flatbush. On Flatbush at like 6th or 7th Avenue. And Sean Price was standing outside the juice bar. And I hopped out the car. I was like, Sean, what are you doing in front of the juice bar?
Right.
And he's like, yo, I drink juices. I'm healthy. You know what I'm saying? And he put that in a bar on his last album.
That's who he is.
Yeah.
That's who he is. Like, we would just like, he would just make fun of me on text just to say hi. You know what I mean? Like, that's the kind of person he is. Like, but like, also shoot me a text and be like, yo, you can rap.
You could rap.
You know what I mean? Like, I like that bar. I like, you know, I like that verse.
He sent me a text once. He used to be like, every time I saw Sean, we hung out. As soon as when we left, he's like, I just want to let you know, I'm a better rapper than you.
Oh my God.
That was always how but Kweli, I'm better than you, right? He texted me once. He was like, I just heard this verse that you did on this song that Status Selector played, and I gotta say, you're at least as good as a rapper as I am. That's what he said.
That's who he is.
Yeah.
That's who he is. Like, you know, and like, to get that acknowledgement from him was like everything, you know? And so there was a time when I only wrote just to kind of like make him
for Sean
proud, you know what I mean? It'd be like, I need my bars to be just a little more potent than his.
Yeah.
I'm just going at him, you know what I mean?
Man, God bless Sean Price, bro.
Yeah.
For real. Like, for him to make us step up as artists like that is very incredible. That's what he gave to the world.
Yeah. He was like, I want to start a group. And this was like when people still was on AIM. You know, he would text me, he would AIM, and he'd be like, I want to start GMR, and I'm putting you in it. And I'm like, I'm on, babe.
Right.
I'm on. I'm about to be on this show. We gonna do something.
I'm in a group with Sean Price.
It never happened. But
shout out to Black Milk and Guilty Simpson, who actually got to do a group with him called Random Acts.
Yep.
Great album, great project.
Great project. Damn you, Hex.
Shout out to Hex Murder. Hex, we hate you, Hex.
We hate you.
We hate you, Hex.
Hate you.
Like I said in the intro, brother, you have worked so hard.
Thank you.
That you're like ubiquitous. Like, if you watch TV, film, you know, you've seen Rick Gonzalez work. Out of all the roles that you've played, what's the one that really taught you something, brought you joy, or helped you evolve as a man?
I would have to say Reaper and Arrow.
Okay.
And the reason is because, simply put, as an actor with Reaper, I know I wasn't the typical choice to play that part. This character was very dry. The comedy was a little bit different, out of my lane. But the creators of the show, Michelle Fazekas and Tara Butters, saw something that they were able to communicate to me in a way that they were like, in the writing, we're gonna help you find this character. And it's gonna push you, but then you're gonna get the rhythm. You're gonna find the flow. And sure enough, I was able to understand comedy in a different way. And so they challenged me. And I feel like to this day, it's opened up another side of me in terms of comedy that I didn't think was there. So being a part of that show really helped me to just understand me as an actor and just continue to grow. And I'm thankful for those moments where I'm able to like really step it up and unlock things, you know? And then I think with Arrow, just kind of like personifies this moment in my life where I'm stable. I'm grounded as a human being, as a man. And so I'm a father now. I have a 6-year-old.
Congrats, brother.
Thank you. And, you know, with all the lessons that I'm learning in life, I'm now applying them. I'm at a place where I'm like, now it's you know, connecting. And I'm literally adding to these lessons and just grabbing onto them and using them. And I think that's why I was able to do Arrow. Because to embody someone like Renee, who's riddled with flaws and choices, but wants to grow and be better, is literally kind of me right now, you know, just kind of like, you know, I want to be a father. I want to do right. I want to, you know, be a great husband, be a great father, you know what I mean? And a great actor, you know? So that aspiration allows me to play Renee on Arrow. And I think it's synchronous, and it happens a lot for actors where like their journey personally mirrors sometimes like the work they do.
Yeah. That's beautiful, brother.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, the People's Party welcomes Rick motherfucking Gonzalez.
Motherfucking Gonzalez.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you, man.